Well, Pfizer has admitted it lied about its COVID-19 vaccine efficacy before it entered the market. It told the European Parliament it was not tested before general public use. Now, this is raising concern as many took the vaccine hoping it will protect them. So for some reaction to this, we're joined now by vaccinologist Professor Shabir Madhi. Prof, thank you for your time. Your immediate reaction to this misleading information?
Yeah, so I think we need to be careful how we interpret what was said. So the vaccine was evaluated to determine whether or not it protects against symptomatic COVID-19. The vaccine the vaccine studies weren't designed to determine whether the vaccine would prevent transmission of the virus. And those are two very different issues. But as it happened, although the clinical trials didn't evaluate whether the vaccine prevented transmission of the virus, the subsequent effectiveness studies in a real-world situation did demonstrate, at least in relation to the original virus that was circulating, that the vaccine was able to reduce the risk of transmission as well. So there's two different aspects to it. The one in that Pfizer did evaluate whether the vaccine protects against symptomatic COVID-19, and for the original virus that circulated, the vaccine effectiveness was close to 95%. Lower risk of developing symptomatic COVID-19, but the initial studies weren't designed to determine whether that would in preventing transmission of the virus between people as well. But like I said, that was demonstrated in follow-up studies.
Right. I understand at this point the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, Prof, is waiting for a response from the pharmaceutical company before it can even consider an application for an Omicron-specific booster vaccine. I mean, what sort of information does SAHPRA need at this point from Pfizer?
So what Pfizer has done up to now, as well as Moderna, is that they've evaluated different sort of formulations, including a formulation that includes both the original virus target as well as the Omicron variant target. And what they've been able to demonstrate is the immune responses, at least against the Omicron variant, is higher when that component of the target is included in a vaccine. So what SAHPRA basically requires is to analyze the dossier of information, the dossier which basically reports on the immune responses. But that being said, I think whether or not there's any advantage of this bivalent vaccine that includes Omicron as opposed to just getting a boost with the original vaccine that was that is currently available in South Africa remains to be seen. I'm not convinced myself that the bivalent vaccine will provide substantially greater protection as a booster dose compared with people just getting a booster dose with the original vaccine that was produced, which is still available in South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, there's also been a hashtag that's been doing the rounds. Hashtag Pfizer lied, people died. I just wonder, especially in the South African context, of course, considering the global context, should people be worried?
Absolutely not. And I think that is sort of, again, misinformation.
Yeah.
The analysis has clearly demonstrated that COVID-19 vaccines have now saved 20 million lives. 20 million lives have been saved since COVID-19 vaccines were rolled out. Had those vaccines not been developed, the number of people that would have died of COVID-19 is not between 15 and 18 million, but would have been almost double that figure. So COVID-19 vaccines have been remarkable in relation to the number of lives they've saved. That's not to say there haven't been some fatal side effects from vaccines, including the Pfizer vaccine as well as other vaccines, but that is in the tens rather than even in the hundreds. So yes, there have been unfortunately a few serious side effects, fatal events, but that the benefit of vaccine far outweighs those sort of side effects, including serious side effects.
Right. And my last question to you, Prof, before I let you go, we've seen, or rather reported on some increases in provinces, including Limpopo when it comes to COVID. What do you make of the numbers right now and where South Africa stands, especially ahead of the festive season?
Yes, so the wastewater surveillance does show an uptick in the amount of virus that's circulating in the community, and there is empirically reports of an increase in number of cases that are being documented in many provinces, not just in Limpopo, even in the Western Cape, to some extent in Gauteng. But I don't expect that to translate into a large increase in number of hospitalizations, and certainly not in relation to the number of people that would die of COVID-19. The reason for that is that a substantial amount of immunity and protection against severe disease in South Africa. largely because more than 90% of the population have been infected with the virus, and many people have had more than 2 or 3 infections without actually knowing it. So we're in a good space when it comes to protection, at least against severe effects of being infected with the virus.